The police officer is looking confused. Huh? Where is Owen? He's right here. This is Owen. I am Ian, a 42-year-old unsuccessful comic artist. I have a wife who is 2 years younger. Our household runs thanks to my wife earning a steady income. We couldn't make ends meet on my income alone. I feel truly sorry. I struggle to get contracts with publishers, and even when I post my comic on social media, my follower count hardly grows. I've thought about starting a part-time job, but who would hire a middle-aged guy like me? Today, I was pondering this while drawing comics. Just then, the intercom rang. Yes? I saw a police officer standing there, with a man in a suit behind him. Wondering what this serious atmosphere was about, I opened the door. The police officer showed me a document. Owen is your son, right? We have an arrest warrant for him. It was an arrest warrant. They said my son had committed fraud. That must be a mistake. Owen committing fraud. When I listened, I learned that Owen had swindled $300,000. That can't be true. I was filled with disbelief. The suddenness of it made my stomach hurt. Can I take some stomach medicine? No. Are you trying to destroy evidence? I'm not. Besides, there's no evidence to destroy since there was no fraud. I forcibly went back to the kitchen and took my stomach medicine. I called out to Owen in the back room, but he didn't respond. When I returned to the entrance, the police officer looked suspicious. You haven't been in contact with Owen, have you? Trying to help him escape is pointless. I haven't. Are there many victims? Well, it's $300,000. Owen seems to be quite the smooth talker. Everyone trusted him and handed over their money. I see. Everyone believed Owen's words. Now, your son will go to trial, but if you pay some money beforehand, his sentence can be lightened. The police officer was asking me to pay money for Owen. How much? There's no fixed amount for these things, but people usually pay around $100,000. How much can you pay? I can't pay $100,000. I might be able to take some from our savings. Why not sell this house? It looks like a new condo. If we sold the house, we'd have nowhere to live. My parents live far away, and I can't rely on my elderly parents. While I remained silent, the police officer grew impatient. It's for your son. Don't you care about him? It's not that. At that moment, a rattling noise came from the back. What's that noise? Is Owen there? Yes, he is. Just a moment, I'll bring him. I went to the room where Owen was and brought him to the entrance. The police officer looked bewildered. Huh? Where is Owen? Right here. I pointed to the cage I had brought. Inside was a white hamster. This is Owen. Owen looked around curiously and then started running on his wheel again. Don't lie. You could be charged with perjury. I'm telling the truth. This is my son, Owen. My wife and I couldn't have children, so we raised him as our son. How dare you mock the police? Bring out Owen immediately. I'm telling you, this is Owen. After a while of arguing, the police officer still didn't believe me. As I was troubled, Willow came home. After briefly explaining the situation, Willow also explained that this hamster was Owen, but the police officers still didn't believe it. You two are obviously in cahoots. How long are you going to keep lying? I'm not. I was at a loss. At that moment, Willow spoke to the police officer.
Aren't you the ones lying? The police would know that we don't have a child if they checked.
Are you insulting the police? Do you want to be arrested for obstructing official duties?
Can you show us your police badge?
That's not the issue here. Bring out Owen first.
Can't show it. The police are supposed to show it when asked by citizens.
We can show it. The police officer quickly flashed his badge and put it back in his pocket.
Which precinct are you from? What's your phone number?
I'm Smith from the Los Angeles precinct. I forgot the phone number.
Los Angeles precinct, right? I'll call to confirm. I can find the number myself.
The police officers started to panic. There's no need to call the precinct over something so trivial.
Then, tell me your ID number.
My ID number is 54321.
And you?
Willow asked the other man. I'm 23456.
That's strange. ID numbers are supposed to be 7 digits long.
We were recently transferred, so we haven't memorized them yet. Yes, same here. We just got them.
ID numbers don't change. And no police officer would fail to answer immediately.
Willow laughed. Police officers are supposed to know their ID numbers by heart and can answer immediately when asked. Knowing that people might impersonate police, it's a good idea to ask for ID numbers. That's not true. Police officers are human too. The officer kept making poor excuses. Just then, our elderly neighbor walked by.
Oh, Owen, long time no see.
When the neighbor called to Owen, the hamster, well acquainted with her, made a squeaky noise. Seeing this, the police officer asked, "Is this hamster really Owen?"
Yes, of course. He's Ian and Willow's beloved son.
After the neighbor left, the two fake police officers were clearly flustered. Naming a pet like a human. It's not that unusual. Besides, Owen is our family, not just a pet. Though they might think it's confusing, people can name their pets whatever they like. Panicking, the two realized they were in trouble. We must have the wrong person. Sorry for the trouble. They tried to salute and leave, but Willow pressed them further.
It's not a mistake. The arrest warrant had our address. You were trying to scam us, right?
You're imagining things. We wouldn't do that.
Can you give me your gun number?
No need for that.
That's a clear violation.
Police officers are supposed to know and provide their gun numbers when asked. If they don't, it's almost always a scam. Unable to take it anymore, the man in the suit tried to run. Just then, real police officers arrived. The two fake officers were promptly arrested. Willow saluted them with a loud voice.
Thank you very much.
The real officers returned the salute. Seeing this, the fake officers murmured, "Really? What on earth?" Willow said,
I can answer my ID and gun number immediately.
The fake officers turned pale. Yes, Willow is a police officer. When I went to take stomach medicine, I called her. She contacted the precinct and came home first. The criminals were safely taken away. I collapsed from the relief.
Are you okay? I'm so glad you're safe, Ian.
Willow pulled me up by the hand. Willow, you were amazing.
Right? Tell me more.
She laughed heartily with her hands on her hips. She's a reliable wife. I couldn't have managed this alone. Later, it was revealed that the two perpetrators were part of a large fraud group. Other members were also arrested one after another, eventually leading to the capture of the higher-ups. I was supposed to receive a letter of appreciation, but all I did was call Willow. I wondered if it was really okay.
It's fine. Thanks to your call, Ian. The group was caught.
Willow said. I decided to accept the letter of appreciation. The news of an unsuccessful comic artist like me receiving a letter of appreciation made it to online news, and then I started getting job offers. When I began writing a comic modeled on Owen, it became a huge hit. It was adapted into an anime and merchandise, becoming increasingly popular, and I quickly became a famous person. However, I haven't forgotten that my current life is thanks to Willow and the police officers who came to help. From now on, I will cherish and enjoy my life with Willow and Owen. Thank you for watching until the end. How did you like this story? Subscribing to the channel would be a great encouragement for our production. See you in the next video.
Don't look for me. I want to be free.
One day when I got home, I found this note and a divorce paper on the living room table. What does this mean? What's happening? I was confused and called my husband. He answered after a few rings.
What do you want?
I could tell from his voice that he was in a foul mood. I just got home and found this note and the divorce papers. What is this all about?
It's exactly what it looks like.
If I could understand just by looking, I wouldn't be asking.
I'm fed up with you.
Suddenly, he yelled into the phone.
You're always tying me down. Can't you trust me at all? I've done so much for you.
Tying you down? I haven't done anything like that.
I hate that you don't even realize it. Oh, and I took the money from the house as compensation.
What? Panicking, I checked the safe. As he said, the $5,000 I had set aside for recent plumbing repairs was gone. I was stunned by his unbelievable behavior. Moreover, he claimed I was tying him down, but we are both full-time employees, leading such busy lives that I hardly have time to restrict him. It's not uncommon for us to end the day without even having a proper conversation. Talking over the phone won't solve this. Please come home.
No way! I'm going to enjoy my freedom.
Wait, please. Ignoring my plea, he hung up the phone. As I stood in the living room in a daze with my smartphone in hand, the doorbell suddenly rang. The sound echoed loudly through the empty house. Yes. Wondering who it could be at a time like this, I looked at the intercom screen and saw my mother-in-law standing there.
Nancy, can I come in for a moment?
She looked angry and entered the house before I could invite her in.
Jason just called me. He said he was leaving this house for a while. What did you do to him?
What? I was startled that my husband, who had left a note and disappeared, would call his mother. She glared at me as if I were her worst enemy. What exactly did Jason say?
He said he's fed up with you. And he told me all about you. You're always out having fun instead of doing housework, aren't you?
No, that's not true. It's true that I don't do much housework, but that's because I have a job. Before we got married, Jason and I talked about this thoroughly and we both agreed on it.
We'll both work hard and save money for a while. We'll think about kids and the house later.
Jason did say that. We also promised to share the housework, but he never helped once. I would manage to do the minimum chores in my spare time. I tried to explain this to my mother-in-law, but before I could open my mouth, she opened the balcony door without asking.
You left the laundry hanging out until this hour. And what's with this flashy underwear? Are you cheating on my son?
No, I'm not.
Then why are you wearing these? My precious son. How dare you?
She hysterically yelled and grabbed my underwear from the drying rack, throwing it at me.
You haven't even cleaned properly. And what's with all this pre-cooked food? You're just being lazy.
She opened the refrigerator without permission and ruthlessly threw away the food I had prepared on my day off. Please, listen to me.
Who would listen to you? When Jason comes back, I'm making sure he divorces you. And be prepared for alimony.
With that, she left. I was left in shock by her cruel words and actions. I'm so tired of this. How did it come to this? When we were dating, my husband was so kind and caring. Despite feeling drained by my mother-in-law's sudden visit, I couldn't just leave things as they were. I took a deep breath and called my husband again. Jason, please come home.
Shut up! Don't look for me! I'm not answering any more calls.
But
Don't bother messaging either. Goodbye.
his cold voice left me speechless as he hung up. Sitting there in a daze, I began to remember something that happened in the past. It was about a year ago.
Jason is cheating?
I had run to my in-laws' house in tears. My own family lived far away, my father had passed away, and my mother was too ill to rely on. The only place I could turn to was my in-laws. Yes. What should I do? When my husband's affair was discovered, he didn't apologize.
Men cheat. But they always come back to their wives in the end. So it's no big deal.
He had said, nonchalantly. Feeling desperate, I had sought help from my mother-in-law, but she said,
That must have been tough. But you know, Nancy, men cheat.
What? She was echoing my husband's words.
I went through tough times too. But my husband eventually came back to me. That's just how men are. So stand tall.
That's.
Or maybe Jason's cheating is partly your fault.
Her gaze hardened, and I recoiled under her stare.
Maybe this is happening because you're not at home to take care of the family.
But Jason agreed to both of us working.
That's a lie. Jason always said he wanted you to be a housewife.
He did? My husband had never complained about me working. But had he told his mother differently? Was he feeling differently all along?
Anyway, you two need to sit down and talk things over.
With those cold words, she sent me away, and I could only go back home. Later, when I tearfully confronted my husband about his affair and mentioned the possibility of divorce, he finally apologized.
I didn't realize you were so upset. Nancy! I'll never cheat again.
He said, but that promise was also broken. After that, he has continued to cheat, apologizing whenever I confront him. I was already wondering how long this could continue when he said,
Don't look for me.
"This is a good opportunity." I murmured, and started moving towards a conclusion. A month after my husband disappeared, I was in a certain place when I received a call from him. It's been a while, Jason. How have you been?" Since that day, I hadn't contacted him once, as he had asked.
How have I been? Why didn't you look for me?
He sounded annoyed, and I could barely suppress my laughter. Why? Because we're strangers now.
What?
You left the divorce papers behind when you left, remember? I submitted them to the city hall that very day.
What?
His scream was so loud that I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Calm down. Don't yell out of nowhere.
You submitted the divorce papers?
Yes. You were so fed up with me that you disappeared. Isn't that what you wanted?
But... I mean, it's not the first time I've left.
True. How many times has it been since we got married? Each time, I worried like a fool.
Then this time, too.
But this time, you even left the divorce papers. You wouldn't have written something like that as a joke, would you?
Oh. Well, that was...
Or are you saying that your past disappearances and even writing the divorce papers weren't serious? He was clearly flustered. His disappearances were essentially just a childish game. At first, I genuinely worried, but once I realized his actions were just to get my attention, I grew indifferent. His repeated infidelities were likely for the same trivial reason, to provoke my jealousy. My outward confusion over my husband's actions was just an act. During his latest disappearance, he told my mother-in-law strange things over the phone, causing her to storm into our home. I had to pretend to be flustered. But while I played the role of the long-suffering wife enduring her husband's antics, I was secretly preparing to file for divorce and move out. Oh, and by the way, I've moved out of the house. I sent all your belongings to your parents' house, cash on delivery. By now, your mother must be quite surprised by all the packages.
What? You did that without my permission?
Without your permission? That's funny. I was the one renting that apartment. In fact, the house we lived in was rented under my name, and I paid all the bills. In return, my husband promised to save his income for a future home, but that money likely went towards his affairs.
But that house was mine too. How could you just move out?
You abandoned the house when you disappeared. Is there a problem?
Of course there's a problem. Where are you now?
Why would I tell you? We're strangers now. When my husband left the divorce papers and disappeared, I saw it as an opportunity. I immediately filed the papers and contacted my strong brother and dependable sister. My brother swiftly handled the moving preparations, and my sister, who works in real estate, found me the perfect place, which I quickly rented. My husband had no idea, but I had been preparing for this moment for a long time, so everything went smoothly. I was now living in a small, single-occupancy apartment far from the house I had left behind. It had a secure entry system, making it safe, and it was well outside my husband's usual haunts, so he wouldn't easily find me.
Are you serious? Are you really leaving me?
My husband's voice came weakly through the phone. I'm not leaving you. I already left. I'm completely fed up with you.
I swear, I won't disappear again. I promise.
It's too late for that.
I'll stop fooling around too. I just wanted to make you jealous, but losing you completely.
Oh, so your infidelities were for that reason, too.
Aw,
He regretted slipping up, but his affairs didn't matter to me anymore. I used to hate you more than anyone in this world, but now I don't even care. I'm sorry. My honest words left him speechless.
you can't be serious.
Why would I lie?
Wait, please. Let's talk this through.
I asked to talk many times, but you refused. There's nothing left to discuss. This call is just a waste of time.
Please, Nancy. I love you.
Well, that's your problem. I don't feel anything for you. And with that, I hung up. There was no reason to talk to my husband, my ex-husband, any further, so I blocked his number. Finally, I'm free. Time to enjoy my freedom. I shouted this joyfully in my new apartment, feeling a profound sense of relief. Now, for the rest of the story. Having lost his place to live, my ex-husband had no choice but to move back to his parents' house. His belongings were piled up in front of the house, and the neighbors were whispering about it. My former mother-in-law was furious and confronted him upon his return. Her yelling was so loud that everyone in the neighborhood found out he had been dumped by me. Additionally, my ex-husband tried to shift the blame, saying,
It's because Mom bullied my dear wife that this happened.
as a result, it became known that my former mother-in-law had been mistreating me, and she was ostracized by the neighbors, leading to a lonely life. At my ex-husband's workplace, rumors spread that he was divorced because of his infidelity, causing him to be shunned by his superiors, subordinates, and colleagues. Left with nowhere to turn, he sought comfort from his mistress, but she dumped him as soon as his money ran out. It turned out that I had been paying all the living expenses, and without my financial support, he quickly ran out of money. Now, with no one to rely on, my ex-husband spends his days like an empty shell. It's a classic case of reaping what you sow. Meanwhile, I'm thoroughly enjoying my newfound freedom as a single woman. My sister has offered to introduce me to someone nice, but I want to enjoy this freedom a little longer. If I meet someone one day who I feel I want to share my life with, I might consider marriage again.